Hey guys, Ben Beck here for Next Level Radio. I want to give a special thanks out to Todd Glass, Comedian Todd Glass, who this interview is with. Todd was a lot of fun to talk to. It was super, super nice. He happened to be in town performing in Bucks County at the Comedy Cabaret in Doylestown, and was really nice enough to be able to sit down and give me a one-on-one interview with him. I've been such a huge fan, and I'm super proud of this interview, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Be sure you check out Todd's special. It's on both Netflix and Hulu. Just search Todd Glass on Netflix and Hulu and you'll find it. Go to YouTube, search Todd Glass. You'll see a lot of his other comedy as well as him dealing with a heckler, which we do talk about in the, or not a heckler, but somebody who is disrespectful. You can see that, which we do talk about during this interview. Also follow him on Twitter at Todd Glass. Check out his website, toddglass.com. And of course, make sure you follow us on Twitter at NXT Level Radio. Check us out, www.nextlevelradioonline.com. And it's a lengthy interview, but I hope you sit towards the end because it's a great interview, a lot of great insight. Sit back and relax and enjoy this interview with Todd Glass. Hey everybody, this is Ben Beck with Next Level Radio, joining you once again for another guest spotlight. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of nervous for this one. I've been a fan of this guy's for a while, and I'm really pleased that I'm able to do this in person. But welcome to the guest spotlight, Todd Glass. Todd.
I go for the old-fashioned applause.
Yeah, that works.
Well, thank you for being nervous.
Yeah.
It's a compliment.
Yeah. I'm a fan. You know...
I don't really mean thank you for being nervous, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I always say I'm not saying this about me, but my brother asks me sometimes, like, as a comedian, do you ever get nervous, meeting other people? I said, of course. But I don't think I get starstruck, but I get talent struck. Yeah. If I perceive, like I was around someone like Fred Willard, or even when I met the Super Trooper guys, I was... giddy and nervous.
So, are you a fan of that movie?
I love Super Troopers, and I love Beer Fest, and I love a lot that they do. They just get those characters, even comedically, and they fucking do them justice. Yeah. So I got, when I was around those guys, that's how I got.
What was the other one? Slammin' Salmon, I think, was another one that did.
I didn't see that one.
That one was pretty good, too. That had Michael Clark Duncan, as well as all this, the Broken Lizard.
Yeah, the Broken Lizard guys. Yeah. Well, Steve and is it Mike? Yeah, they tour and do stand-up now, and I asked them, because they said there might be a Super Troopers 2.
I heard the rumor about that, too.
I know, and I asked them, I said, listen, you don't have to well, first of all, they don't have to put me in the movie at all, but I said it to them like that. I said, you don't have to put me in the movie, but I'll tell you what I'd love to do. Just let me talk during the credits. And I'll come on, I'll make it funny. I'll be like, hey, everybody, this is Todd Glass. I told Broken Lizard they didn't have to put me in the movie. I just wanted to talk in the credits. So guess what? Obviously, they let me. So it's my job. And then just whatever I decide to do while the credits are rolling.
That'd be kind of cool, though. I don't think I've ever seen that before, with somebody doing commentary during the credits.
Well, I could stop the credits and go, do you know the power I have? You think, now how many people would stay in the theater is the thing. I bet I can keep most people.
I guarantee you would keep me in the theater.
I keep the theater.
I would just want to know where you're going with it until the end of the movie.
I would say, you're sitting in the crowd. You're going, all right, he's going to talk through the credits. What's the big deal? Oh, really? You don't think it's an amazing amount of power? I could stop any credit that's rolling next to me and highlight it, and you know if that person's in the theater, they're going to freak out. Stop right there. Oh, makeup, hair and design. Karen Richter. Look at that.
It's kind of like John Madden with the telestrator. Right. Be even cool, too, if you could, just for fun, just say, just rearrange a couple credits. Like, I don't think this person should be here. Just move him up to, like, a producer. I think he's better off as a producer. Move things around. You can see it on the screen as it happens.
Slow it down a little for yourself. So whatever I would do, that's what I asked them. Yeah. But anyway.
So I want to start with the book. The Todd Glass situation, because I'm not one of those guys that'll blow smoke and tell you, oh yeah, I read the book. I have read half of the book. I'm still in the process of reading it. I love it. I love the book. There's been moments that I've honestly laughed out loud at the book, and I'm surprised how open you are and how how honest about everything you are in that book. So It surprised me. I know the first chapter starts off with the heart attack that you had. Was that 2 years ago?
That was 2 years ago.
So, and I guess to anybody that could be a big eye opener to kind of like, okay, this is all the events in my life that led up to, that moment, right. And now this is why I'm reflecting on everything.
I thought sometimes if it was the personal stuff, I would ask. There was a ghostwriter. Well, he's the co-author actually because he's acknowledged on the cover. His name is Jonathan Grotstein, and he was great. And when it was something, it could be something so stupid personal that was like, why do I have to tell the audience this, Jonathan? And he would say, well, if you want people later, you're at the end of the book, you're sort of ranting and raving, and not ranting and raving, but don't say this, you shouldn't do that. You have to bare your soul a little and let people know you before you can then maybe be a little harsher. And so I would always ask him why. He would tell me. I'd be like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, it takes a lot of different points in your life, and it's definitely one of those things. Like I honestly just started reading it last week, and I'm already halfway through it because it keeps my attention. Like I just want to keep going, and I want to know what happens next, and I want to know what happens next. There's a lot of different points in your life that you cover in the book, but there's one pretty big elephant in the room. You came out recently as a comedian.
Yeah. That's what I love it when my friends would call me and say that they'd be, Todd, I didn't know you were a comedian. I'm like, or they would say Jewish. Yeah. They would pick something in the book that was like,
yeah. But I mean, that's basically what the book is. It's you're up and comings in the comedy world, and I've always been a fan of stand-up comedy. And one of the things I've been learning as time goes on, especially through, as we mentioned, Chris Hardwick and his podcast, and Mark Maron and all his podcasts, how much of a small world comedy really is. Like, you guys all know each other for the most part.
It really is this very small world, and everybody's, as much as I sometimes love to complain about comedy that I'm not a fan of, overwhelmingly, especially, excuse me.
Oh, sure.
I'll tell the audience because I feel like if I say it, then you're fine. You're not going to get sick. Well, you might. I don't know. I'm fighting a little bit. I feel like I'm on the last day of a cold, so I probably sound a little nasally. But is that overwhelmingly, I've said this many times, I love most stand-up comedians, overwhelmingly. And I think comedy's in a great place right now because as much as we love to complain about what's on television, there's also, in the last 10, 15 years, been a lot of great things on television, stand-up comedians specifically. Mm-hmm. So young kids that grew up, over the last 15 years, they got to see some unbelievable stand-up comedians, which I think is inspiring a lot of them to say, oh, I think that's funny, I could do that. So I think it is a very small community, and yeah, it is amazing, because sometimes my family will ask me, and especially when they've gone on to another level, and they'll ask me, do you know that person? Do you know that person? I go, you know what? If it's a stand-up comedian, you pretty much know everybody.
Yeah. I mean, because you tell stories in your book about how you had Rosie O'Donnell sleeping on your couch.
Yeah, well, that was when I lived with Craig, and and they were friends. I know some of the stuff you forget because it just seems, and not in a sort of, oh, really? Like if somebody told me, yeah, Richard Pryor used to sleep on my couch, or somebody, you know what I mean? Or I'd be like, really? Because it was just all happened so slowly, and then their career built over the, So, but yeah, you realize that. And the other thing with stand-up comedians that I think is amazing, when you get, if you're at a comedy festival, there could be a 2-year comedian, and then in the room could be, Louis C.K., and then could walk in, Ron White, and every level of comedian, could walk into the room, and everybody can talk, because whether you've been doing comedy for 2 years or whether you've been doing it for 30, you have enough to talk about.
Yeah.
Because they know you. I go on the road. I meet a comedian that opening up for me. He's been doing it 2-3 years, and he knows exactly what I know. Yeah. So there's so much to talk about, no matter what the gap is in your years of performing.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that probably gets people into stand-up comedy is just I don't think you enter into stand-up comedy without having gone through things in your life to give you that inspiration. Because I think some of the funniest stuff is people talking about their own personal experiences and just turning it around to make it funny, so that everybody else can enjoy it.
I always try to say this because it was a breaking moment for me back when I didn't know, like, what do you talk about? What are you going to do? I used to think, now it doesn't mean this isn't a type of great comedy, to tap into something, whether it's emotional or whether it's political or whether it's social, but it can also be a silliness. But good comedy comes from inside, and but what confused some people? What about can silly? Of course, whether it's Jonathan Winters or whether it's Steve Martin or whether it's someone like Kevin Meaney, or whether it's, you could be extremely silly and it still comes from somewhere. It's an inventive silliness.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and again, I don't think you have to be miserably a comedian.
No, not at all.
You don't have to be miserable. Some people might be, but I don't think you have to be miserable.
Yeah, it's it's funny because, like I said, I've been a fan of stand-up for a while. There was a point in my life where I actually did want to get into it, and I actually did try it. I did 2 openers, and it's funny because the first time I ever did it, I had no idea I was even going to do it. I had spoken to a comedian friend of mine who traveled around a lot, did the college circuits and things like that.
Where'd you do it? Do you remember the club?
It wasn't a club. I actually opened at a college. Oh, no, I'm sorry. My second gig was at a college. The first time I did it, it was at, there used to be a comedy club in the Hilton in Cherry Hill.
Oh, I remember that.
And I can't remember.
Yeah, Clareton. It turned into later. I think
and I can't remember what the name of the club was.
Wasn't it the Comedy Cabaret?
Was it a comedy cabaret?
I'm pretty sure it was.
It might have been then.
But anyway, not that matters.
Yeah, but I was funny because I was communicating back and forth with a comedian friend of mine who was asking me like about material and things like that, and I maybe only had maybe 2 or 3 minutes of material at that, and I went out to see him one night and he asked me, how it was going, and he said, "Do you think you're ready to do it?" I said, "No, not at all." He said, "Well," he's like, "I need another opener." He said, "So do you want to open for me?" I said, "No, not at all. I don't want to do it." He's like, "Well, you're going to do it." I said, I really don't want to do it. I said, "Because what if I go up there and I bomb?" And he told me, he's like, "We all bomb. Everybody bombs." He's like, "And you're in front of a bunch of strangers." He's like, "These are the best people to bomb in front of because you're never going to see these people again." He said, "Just go up there, give me, give me as long as you can, and once you feel like you're starting to lose the crowd, just introduce me and I'll come out." And I went out there, and you could tell just by looking at me, my hand was shaking like crazy. Microphone, you could probably hear it in the microphone, how bad I was shaking. And I went into the introduction that I did, and the moment I got the first laugh, it was solid as a rock. Like, it was just like, as soon as I realized they were laughing at the material and not at me, I went on. And I ended up doing probably about 3 or 4 minutes until I just ran out of what I had and I introduced them. So it's a tough gig. I admire anybody that does it, and I applaud anybody that can do it.
Yeah, what's the best part about comedy is the same as what's the worst. What's the best part about it is when it's going great, it's all you.
Yeah.
Basically, you write, you direct, you edit, you star, you do everything. But that's why when it's great, it's really great. And that's why when it's, but that's what's so awesome about it. And that's the same thing they should do with television, because when you let someone have a vision and you don't interrupt that vision, you're going to win mostly.
Yeah. When you go out and you perform, do you still have those gigs I'm sure you probably do, but do you still have those gigs every once in a while that after the end of your set, you walk off the stage and you just think to yourself, I just fucking nailed this. Like, this was...
Oh, you know what? I don't think it gives by the way, when it comes to... I'm going to be paranoid and say this. I love talking about stand-up comedy, so I should say that first. That's what we're doing right now. I love it. But I always get paranoid because I remember growing up listening to Steve Allen, and he was a comedian from the older days, and he was a guy that was always talking about... And I used to go, oh, why doesn't he stop talking about stand-up comedy and just be funny? So I thought, oh, is that what I do? And the difference was he was complaining about it. Oh, comedy today, comedy today, comedy today. I was like, shut the fuck up. Comedy today. You're not even out there knowing what's going on, complaining about comedy. And I don't think I'm like that because, as we just talked about, I think comedy is in a great place, and there's a ton of great comedians out there right now. But I do like to break it down, and it is fun. And also, it's good for me because it reminds me of, remember what to do. I might be saying it, but I'm also relearning it myself and always reminding myself. So as far as going out there and question you just asked as far as I think it's if you never can admit, God, that went great, then it looks just like you're always like, woe is me, like, oh, that didn't go well. No, if it goes well, there's nights I know usually 2 minutes out onto the stage if they're going to be the crowd that I love. Now that doesn't mean if they're not the crowd that I love that, let's say the best crowd is a 10 out of 10 out of 10, that's the best, for a stupid number scale. It doesn't mean after that it's a 2. Sometimes you can work them a little and get them where you need them. But the only difference is I used to worry the crowds would like me, and now I worry I'll like them.
Okay.
It changes a little bit. It changes a little bit like that. But you still get nervous. I think I referenced in this book, I remember opening up for somebody, and I think it was George Jones, and he said, how's the crowd?
How's the crowd?
And I was like, do you really care how the crowd is? But of course, years later, I went, you always care how the crowd is.
Yeah, because you had mentioned other stories about, I think even when you did the Broadway thing with Patti LaBelle, which you mentioned in the book too, all the different people that you've opened for, and including her herself, would ask you, how's the crowd every once in a while. I didn't even know who some of these people were. Like, I would just have to learn, because when I was opening up for some of them, the owner of the Comedy Works, who sort of served as my manager, helping me, he would always say, well, they're going to be on the Tonight Show tonight, so watch them. Yeah. And that's how I think it would maybe help me not be as nervous, because it probably was a good idea. Yeah. Speaking of the Tonight Show too, what was I haven't gotten this far in the book, so I don't know if you mention it or not. Who was the first talk show that you ever did? Like, who was the?
It's my own fault. I'm not good at putting together tight sets. Mm-hmm. And when you can realize something's your own fault when it is, it's a lot better, because if you don't, you'll just be bitter, thinking there's some evil force against you. And sometimes I get a little frustrated that I think, I've never done the Tonight Show. Oh, well, I've done the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, but I've never did the Tonight Show with Jay.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's annoying. Let me turn that off.
Yeah.
I never, I never did the Tonight Show, because when I did Jimmy Fallon, he was still late night. Yeah. And I did Conan years ago, like probably 20 years ago, when he first came on the air. Mm-hmm. I think it was about 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I never did Letterman, which there's two things I'd really like to do, and I thought maybe the book would lead to that, is Letterman and Stern. I would love to do Howard Stern. Mm-hmm. But the show that I did the most was, and they really let me just be I can't believe how loose they let it be, was Jimmy Kimmel. Because my friends would be like, when are you going over your set for Jimmy Kimmel? And I'd be like, I don't. They go, you don't go over your set? I go, if I'm doing a bit, I go over it. We go over that with the producer. Like, Jimmy will do this, you'll do this. Yeah, we go over it very, very loosely. But when it came to my stand-up, no. They would ask me if there was anything that Standard and practices. Is there a product you mentioned? And because I never broke that trust, it was pretty much, my friends like, you don't, because all the other shows, they go over and go over and go over it. So that's probably why that show worked for me, because I'm not good at putting together tight 5-minute sets. And Jimmy would let me sort of play. Like, I remember I've done stand-up comedy there and then walked over to the panel because I saw somebody laugh really hard and high-fived them.
Really?
Yeah, because it was just like they seemed to like that type of playing.
Yeah.
And so that worked for me. So I've done that show, I think, I'm pretty close to almost probably 15 times since it's been on the air. And it's a fun show to do.
Yeah. I know when going back to like Comedy Central and things like that, as far as I know we were mentioning Chris Hardwick and things like that. One of the shows I know you were on that I've been a fan of since the first episode, and I was really excited to find out that you were on it. It's his show At Midnight. And I think
it's hard for me to do that, believe it or not. I don't know if that's going to happen again.
Because I've been wondering if you are you like good friends with Chris? Or you?
I know, I'm very friendly with Chris. We don't hang on a daily basis, but like I said, most comedians, we have the same manager. Okay. So I've known Chris for a long time, and I've always thought he's a nice person.
Yeah. Well, because one of the things I love about that show is it's really opened me up to a lot of different comedians I had never heard of before, and just the just the material that they bring up, especially on the spot and things like that. It's really made me fans, and it's gotten me to check out and open up about different comedians that I've never heard of before.
Yeah, they really have a lot of great comedians on that show. I'm not a destination TV watcher, but I flip a lot, and every time I flip, and actually you just saying that made me think of it. But there's a lot of people that are on that show that are funny, really funny people.
Yeah, I know two people off the top of my head that I've become big fans of. Just
name
because,
them.
Ron Funches.
Ron is great.
Who you've had on your
Ron
show.
Ron is just Ron is awesome.
Yeah, and Paul F. Tompkins.
Paul F. Tompkins.
I think you've had on your show.
Yeah, Paul's been on a lot.
I've just become huge fans of theirs because I laugh every time they are on that show.
Paul's great, and that's the whole thing with social media today, being having podcasts and and television being more reasonable to produce, you have a lot more TV shows. And by the way, and there's a lot of great TV. I always try to look at the positive side of it. Is that a lot of people will go, oh, there's so much shit on TV today, and there is. But guess what? There's also a tremendous amount of great television, and not only one of the types of television that I love is the sort of the obscure stuff on like on Adult Swim and stuff like that, which I love, and Bob's Burger, or I'm a big Family Guy fan, stuff like that. But also just good old traditional, sitcoms. Have been on the air. Like good old, just regular, shows. I know Everybody Loves Raymond isn't on the air anymore, but it was on the air a few years ago. Yeah. So there's that type of shows that are still out there, and then there's all these little niche shows. Television, is in a great place.
Yeah. Speaking of television, you've actually been on an episode of. I have two favorite sitcoms that still to this day hold my top two spot. Still hold my top two spots in my favorite sitcoms of all time. They're no longer on the air, but you've actually been on both. One of them was Friends. You did an episode of Friends, and the other one was Home Improvement, which is probably still my favorite sitcom to this day.
I've done go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that was pretty much. Yeah. I was just going to say you played the role
of Tim Allen's dad in a dream sequence. A lot of people are like, wait, how'd you play Tim Allen's dad? I think you might be younger than him, but in a dream sequence when his dad was young. I do very little roles. I'm not good at the audition process, and I don't. I do well with my own work. I did a pilot with Happy Madison, which is Adam Sandler's company, and it was a big pilot. And I thought the night before we were going to shoot, the week-long shoot for this pilot, I thought no one's checked if I could act. And I always thought I could act because when I'm doing my own work, I can act because you're in charge of, we got that or this. But when it comes to going on the audition process, I do horrible. So any of the roles that I've done have been like very little, which I'm always happy. Like I'm the only actor when they go, we cut your other line. I'm like, good, because even those little lines are so hard to remember. And with the Friends thing, I think I auditioned once or twice for Friends, and I just do horrible. And Matthew Perry had come out to Largo one night. It was a comedy club, and I had a joke that we had both talked about afterwards, and he's like, we had somebody fall out for tomorrow. I bet you could do it. He goes, but it's a little role, and we don't reuse people because we don't like to see, that guy delivered the pizza. Now he's on the airplane harassing. So that's how I got it. And I went in the next day, and I just did it. I didn't even audition for it. But and it was so small. And I remember asking him, it was the opposite. I go, is it like really small? He goes, well, it's not great. It's not big. I go, good. No, that's what I'm asking. And I thought, he thought I was being like, it better be big. I'm like, no, the smaller the better. Yeah. One line is enough for me to remember.
Going back to the stand-up and your gigs and things like that, there's a video that's online that's pretty much infamous. I know tomorrow night you're going to be at the Comedy Cabaret in Doylestown in Bucks County, and they even have it up on their site because it's part of them advertising you. There's a video online that's on YouTube of you dealing with a heckler, and that's one of the things that I actually love about your stand-up is you pull no punches.
She really wasn't a heckler. What happened was...
Oh, she was harassing
She was talking before the other... And I think what happens at comedy clubs... I'm good. By the way, you stumbled upon something that recently I really... It doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong, but I want to work on it a little bit because even if the audience agrees with you, when you yell at somebody, even the people that agree with you, still it rattles people a little. And this woman was talking... before the show, when the other comedian was on. She was in the back of the room talking, and I just politely shushed her. And people don't realize this, but a lot of people have a sense of entitlement. And at a comedy club, the customer isn't always right, or they couldn't exist, or a theater, they couldn't always exist. And I think that's what rattles people, is that when you're at a restaurant, if you say the food isn't good, the food isn't good. They don't argue with you. No, that soup is good. So when a full-grown adult is to be told to shush, they get really offended to the point of like, you thought if you showed people a video, if you put a tight shot on a table and then you showed a doorman, and then you just showed the reaction. You showed a group of people the reaction. You go, was this person just told to politely be quiet, or did that doorman call everyone at the table a fucking idiot and tell them to shut up? and then guess by just the reaction of the table. Everyone would go, he told them, obviously, they were fucking idiots to shut up, because they look that way. Like, what? What can you... Who? Well, you're wrong. They were told politely to be quiet. And I sort of get off on, those people get away with that. Those are the same people that would go to a restaurant and make somebody cry, a waiter or a waitress, because they were being rude, but maybe that person needs their job, so they have to swallow their dignity. And I always figure that person's been on a path of being an asshole. And sometimes it's fun to go, you know what? It fucking stops here. The only thing I don't do, and that's why I'm not embarrassed of that video, I never want to use names. Sometimes when you get angry, you use names like fat, or you might say whore. Yeah. That's the stuff when I get in the car, I go, I would have just reamed them a new ass. Is that the right term?
Ream them a new ass. Ream a new asshole.
With just dealing with what they did, without using verbiage that doesn't have anything to do with anything. I'm okay with myself, and I didn't. I made sure I never said anything like that. But It sort of get off on it. It's like you've been on a path of doing this, and all of a sudden you're here, and they can't believe it that they're getting talked to like that. It's like, you don't get to talk to people like that. Yeah. By the way, for the audience listening, I guess that's everybody but me and you. When I asked her to be quiet, it wasn't a big deal. I didn't know it was going to turn into this. I did the shush where you sort of hunch down a little. To me, that's, you lower your shoulders. Yeah. And to me, I know what that means in my head, and I think of what it means in everybody's head. When you cut somebody off and they look at you, and you lower yourself and apologize, you put your hands up, it means you lower yourself. You're saying, I bow to you. Sort of like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry to cut you off. Most reasonable people in the other car know that look. And they all of a sudden, they go, when I scrunched down, I went, shh, like a nice way, and she gave me the finger. Now, she didn't know I was a comedian. And I remember just thinking, you gave me the finger. You thought I was the manager of this restaurant. You gave somebody the finger that you knew couldn't give it back to you, or you thought couldn't give it back to you. Now, I didn't give her the finger back to her because I'm not going to mirror that type of behavior. But I thought, who are you? And I don't mean it like, who the fuck are you? You just gave someone the finger? That's not even good at your age when someone can give it back to you. Who drives around giving people the finger when they cut them off? Let alone someone that can't return it to you? Yeah. You gave someone the finger that can't return it to you? What are you, a fucking monster? And I don't care if you are decent looking, meaning you don't look like a monster. Your insides are of a monster. So I thought, take a deep breath, go on stage, do comedy first, get the audience to like you, and then deal with it. Yeah. And for the rest, you have to go to YouTube.
Well, because there's comments on that YouTube video that go both ways, and that's just the way YouTube and social media
95% of them are pro.
Oh, yeah, they're all on your side.
There's about 5% that say a comedian should be able to handle that. Yeah. And the thing that I hate to say that I hate that people say the most, but I don't comment on video clips. I sometimes want to go in and straighten everybody out, but I don't. I never comment, ever. Not once have I commented. Gone in. When they say it's a woman, it's typical woman. It's not. It's men and women that heckle at comedy clubs. It's men and women that heckle at comedy clubs. It just happens to be a woman in this case. Men are just as bad. I don't see it overwhelmingly being women at all. And I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that I think you even said when you turned around and you were reaming around, is the fact that this is the kind of person that's gotten away with this up until this point. She's done this before. She wouldn't have done it this time if she hadn't gotten away with it before. So, and you called her out on it, like you just flat out. I think you even said that, like I said in the rant, that she's gotten away with it before, but she's not getting away with it this time.
Can you imagine if an usher at a concert, like I went to see in Vegas. Sometimes I'll go to see a performer, and I peeked at my cell phone, and put your cell phone away. Can you imagine? That's when I always think, before you're hard on somebody else, ask yourself, Todd. Come on, you'd never give someone the finger, ever? And then you answer the question. You go, no! I can't even imagine it. I'm not a saint. But I can't imagine an usher going, hey, you have to put away your phone. And I turn and go, fuck you, with my finger. Fuck you. And that's who she is.
It's a challenge of authority. I mean, it's, like you said, pulling out your phone. I've been in that situation before, too, where I've looked at my phone during a concert and been told, to put it away. It's the rule of the venue. It's you do what you're supposed to do, and it's like you said, you do that crouch down because you know you're in the wrong, and you fix it.
So anyway, excuse me for coughing.
One of the things that I know about you is the fact that, at least it seems to me, that you are a very busy person. You're constantly touring. You have your show. I know you do a lot of guests. I know you've done stuff on Tosh before and things like that. What do you like to do in your free time if you have any free time? I mean,
I know this is probably a cliche answer, but for me, like, my vacation is being at a comedy club that I really... By the way, like, I'm going to say it again. Like, let's say 10 is the best comedy club. 10 is the best. There's a lot of 8s and 9s, and that's still a great club, an 8 or a 9. You're still... But I'm talking about a 10.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, like, Helium or Washington, D.C. Improv or... a club like that, or the Acme in Minneapolis, or Atlanta Laughing Skull. When I'm at those, and that's because they've cultivated this audience that treats comedy like the theater. They know, they get it, and they're brilliant, and And by the way, remember when I said I'm worried that the audience? I used to be worried that the audience I would like the audience. Now I'm worried. I used to be worried that the audience would like me. Now I'm concerned
that you're going to like the audience.
That I'm going to like the audience. It changes a little in a club like that. When they deem themselves, these are great audiences, and you do want to please them because they've deemed themselves to be brilliant audience members. Yeah. So my vacation is going to a club like that, but going in a day or two early. Enjoy the city with no shows, maybe hit like the alternative sort of one-nighters, where I don't have to be there, but I just go around with a local comedian, and we'll hit like 2 or 3 of them and hang out with comedians, smoke pot, and then stay a day extra. So when I'm Sunday night doing my last show or Saturday night doing my last show, I don't have to get up the next day and fly out. Yeah. I enjoy it. Like the next day I'm going to get up at late, maybe go hang out with comedians again. To me, that's what I consider a vacation. I've taken traditional vacations, but... It's very. I do miss the comedy. I went to the Bahamas about 4 years ago, and there was a room, and I thought, this could be a comedy club. It's like perfect. It had a stage for music. It had a PA system, and there was nothing to do. And there was a tremendous amount of young people on the island. And I asked the owner, well, actually a friend of mine. I go ask him. So today with YouTube, like the people that owned the place, weren't aware that I was a comedian, but they must have gone on YouTube. They're like, his name's Todd Glass. Look at him on YouTube. And the guy came back to me. He's like, yeah, we'll do a show. He goes, we'll make the drinks and you could take the door. So they just flyered the island, and we did one show. It sold out, and then I'm like, let's do another show. And I paid for the whole trip. I paid for the whole trip.
So that's not a bad. So even on vacation, when you went away for like an actual traditional vacation, you still wanted to perform.
I ended up doing stand up. I mean, well, it's fun. It's not like it's a fun thing to do.
Yeah. Do you still? I know you hear at times, a lot of the, some comedians, like Robin Williams and Eddie Murphy and things like that. They just make surprise appearances at different clubs out in LA. Basically just to test new material and things like that. Do you do that too? Or do you just pretty much just throw it into your gigs when you tour?
Well, like I said, like going in town a night early and maybe hitting those. I'll do stuff like that. And that's a little less pressure because, no one's paying to see you. So you still want to do well. You don't want to like hop up and bomb. Yeah. But it's fun to do those shows. It's because, it's no pressure at all. You can have some new material. Although I'll try out new material even on a Saturday show at a comedy club. But so you can always try out new material. But yeah, I see a lot of those guys that sort of... In New York, you see a lot of that, I guess. Mm-hmm. Well, you see it in L.A. too. People popping up, not... Like you'll go to L.A. and see some shabby bar show, and then you'll see like, Bill Burr pop up or like the Sarah Silverman. And then you see... I love those shows because you'll see a 3-year comedian, a 6-year comedian, a 30-year veteran, a 20-year veteran... There's just everybody.
It's just a nice mix of...
It's a nice mix.
All the generations of comedy.
Yeah.
Do you, Oh, shit, I forgot what the question was.
That's all right. That's my life.
Oh, shit. I had a question in my head, and I
know that feeling. You know what? Make yourself an edit. Think of it. Yeah. Let's see if we can think of it.
Oh, damn it.
For $1 million. That's a game show we play when I go, for $1 million, could you think of it?
Yeah. I love, by the way, what you did on. It's going back once again. When you did Chris's podcast. I guess how long ago did you record that? Because I know he just
we
put
just
it out
did it like a week ago.
Okay,
so pretty.
The way you guys ended the podcast with the phone call, that was. I had never heard of anything like that before, and when you guys were describing it,
it's hard to.
I couldn't put my head around it. I'm like, how is that funny?
It's something funny about, to explain to your listeners, that this is a bit I started doing with Chris. I called Chris once. I do it with my friends all the time. Like me and Roy Scovel do it all the time. And I called Chris Hardwick. It was like some phone meeting about something we were working on. And I said, hey, guys, before I go, you want to do something really funny? Because I was on a speakerphone, like in a conference room. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, you bare your soul. You go, I think I just haven't. I feel like nothing's going right for me. I just want to take my life. And you just go on, and my dog died. And then the other people just hang up. And you think, well, how could that be funny? Well, it's funny for you because you're playing the role of the person that's complaining. And you, bit or not, someone hangs up on you in the middle of all that. And all of a sudden, and it's funny for them because the cold, who would be pouring their heart out to you, and then you're just not in the mood. You go, click, one push of a button, and so it is funny for both parties once they hang up. Anybody listening, try it. It's a very. I think
as long as both parties are in on it.
Well, of course.
Especially if you do it around people that have no idea. I think that's even where some of the funny could come into it too. If there's people in the room that have no idea you're going to do it.
Well, they both have to be. I think they both have to know, because if you really poured your heart out to somebody, they would never hang up on you for real.
Well, I mean, in the case of like if you were calling Chris and Chris had other people in the room, and you and Chris were in on it, but nobody else in the room was in on it.
It's you know what it is? We do another bit like it. Like as some friends of mine are leaving my house sometimes, I always walk, like as they're getting in their car. I'll walk outside and talk to them as they're getting in their car. Mm-hmm. And then once they get in their car, there's like 3 people in the car, and I'll go, guys, I just have not been happy, and I've been so depressed. And when you guys are here, it's really the only time that I forget about all my problems, and I'm laughing and I'm having fun. And I just want to thank you for coming by tonight, because quite frankly, I've been thinking about just ending it all lately. And when you're here, I can smile. And then they go, okay, cool, and they drive off. And it's so giddy, silly. And they always call me 30 seconds later in the car, because they're laughing uncontrollably in the car. Like, who would do that? And the same thing, I'm sitting in front of my house all by myself, and I am giggling that it is so absurd and so over the top.
And I can just picture it, too. That's what makes it so damn funny. It's like that's something you would see on like a bit on a television show.
Yeah, it's very...
That's hysterical. I remembered the question.
Oh, good, there we go. I knew you'd think of it.
I know when you perform, at different clubs and things like that, sometimes with the surprise appearances that you're doing and things like that, like you said, how you like to visit different clubs and just try them out. You're not always, the closing act. You're not always the headliner. Are there still people that, will turn around and say to you, hey, would you mind opening for me? I mean, do you mind?
Oh, yeah, no, not at all. Matter of fact, it depends who it is, but... actually opening for people has let me be very picky when it comes to... I'm still a comedy club act. In other words, I'm not a theater act yet. Yeah. I'm still a comedy club act, and which I'm happy to be. Obviously, I want to go to that.
That was another thing I was going to ask.
Yes. Of course I do. But while I'm here, genuinely, no bullshit. I cherish that I can, fill comedy clubs, and I do like, while I'm working comedy clubs, I love to get somewhere, get comfortable, and then do 5 nights there. And every night, walk into tranquility and the perfect situation in the green room the way I want it, and it's nice to do that. But opening for people has let me be very picky at the clubs that I want to work. I don't have to, if it's not a club I really like, I don't have to work it because of opening. I mean, I'll open for, the mainly, it's like Sarah Silverman, a decent amount, David Spade, Louis C.K., David Cross, and Tosh and Jim Gaffigan are probably the 6 that I could say sort of go through my rotation opening up for them. And I love it. Because I wouldn't always want to do 20 minutes. I mean, it's fun to do an hour, and 20 minutes wouldn't fill me if that's all I was doing. But when you're doing it, it's pure joy, because you're working big theaters. Sometimes 2, 3, 5, 6,000 people, and you're doing 20, 25 minutes, and then you can enjoy the show. And I would say most of the time, 75% of the time, after I'm done my show, I'll go take a seat all the way in the back of the theater, or stand on the side somewhere in a little cove and watch the show. Yeah. And then you go out after the show and you eat dinner and you hang out. So opening up for acts is so much fun. And also the tour bus thing is it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, I love and obsessed with the tour bus.
Really?
Yeah, it's so it's not like we're a band that has 20 people. That could be a little much being in a tour bus. It's just so much fun because, you don't lose that. There's no downtime. A lot of times what would happen was, depending on how far the next job was, and we were saying as far as it's only 2 or 3 of us in the bus. It's not like there's 20 of us. Yeah. So we have enough room. There's usually 2 bathrooms on most of them. So there's a back bathroom and a front bathroom. And after a show, the driver will either say, go out after the show if you want, because we don't want to leave till 1 a.m. So you can go out, have a fun night after your show, go out to dinner, enjoy the city or whatever, and then you get on a tour bus and you hang out for a little while, you watch TV, watch a movie, and then you go to bed. And it's like, while you're sleeping, it's like if your bed started up and drove down the highway, and it's comfortable. I mean, they're really comfortable. They don't design those things to be uncomfortable. The mattresses, everything on them is. Yeah.
Well, you're spending so much time in them nowadays.
Yeah.
So when you do those opening acts, like you said, for Sarah Silverman and or Louis C.K. or whoever, and you're only doing 20 minutes, and you walk off that stage, and you feel the crowd, even that only having given them 20 minutes. Do you ever walk off that stage and just think to yourself, like, I really want this for myself? Like, I really. At some point, like
absolutely. I always say, like, and again, remember what I said. A lot of the things I say, it's not because I'm preaching. It's also because I'm reminding myself. Part of trying to have a good head on your shoulders doesn't mean that you don't get jealous. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you say get jealous, people go, "Oh, you shouldn't be jealous." I go, "Whoa! Jealousy is not jealousy is not bad. It's what you do with the jealousy. Yeah. Do you turn it into motivation, or do you turn it into bitterness?" I try to turn it into motivation. Mm-hmm. But I get jealous a lot. There's times because I think, I would like to have that and I would like to, but I really genuinely am also appreciative of what I do have. Mm-hmm. There's some comedians that I thought were the next to Pop, 20 years ago, and some of them aren't even doing stand-up comedy. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying that to be appreciative. Mm-hmm. Of what I do have. So you get jealous, but again, also I very quickly go, look, you can tour, you work great comedy clubs, try to be appreciative also you can be jealous of what you don't have, but follow it up with being appreciative of what you do have. And I know that sounds like maybe no shit sort of five and dime, motivational speaking, but it's what I do, genuinely.
I can only imagine. And
I'm not telling the truth. Why? Son of a fuck! There's somebody out there. There's probably a little truth to that there.
I think there's a little bit of truth.
Well, not the screaming. I was very...
No.
That's why I'm honest with that. Like, don't try to... I think it sounds like bullshit if you try to be too overly. Admit that you're jealous, and absolutely. But then, I'm not a depressed person. By the way, I have a theory in this business, and I believe it's true. And I told my neighbor this who taught an acting class. Mm-hmm. Hold on. And I said... Now, I couldn't say this if I was, Zach Galifianakis right now, or Will Ferrell, or someone that was, very, very, making millions of dollars a year. I couldn't say it. But where I'm at my career, I think I can say it. Everybody, because it would come off self-indulgent if I was the other people, to explain why. But everybody, wherever you're at in your career, that's exactly where you belong. Now, I know I told my friend that casually in conversation. He told his acting class that, and they got mad. And I was like, I thought why they got mad, because that makes you take ownership of where you're at. Yeah. And if I look at my career and I go, why am I at where I'm at when I've been doing this such a long time? And some people start, years after me. I meet young comedians and, I don't do well in the auditioning process. I don't do well at putting together Tonight Show TV appearances. Mm-hmm. The acting is, if it's my own project, I think I could do very well at it. So there's a lot of reasons. And the flip side of that, and believe me, this is something I genuinely use to be positive about. So anyway, what I was saying about, wherever you're at, that's where you belong. Now, that doesn't mean that some people don't get lucky, but, but it didn't happen for you. That's like if your neighbor won the lottery and you quit your job. You go, well, he won the lottery. Well, you didn't. Yes, and that's even if, underlined 100 times. Even if you do perceive other people in the comedy business or acting business got lucky. That's even. Because guess what? A lot of people achieve an amazing amount of success, and they are talented. Not everybody that makes it isn't talented. I know a shit ton of comedians that started after me that are very talented and have sort of gone past me. But the now I forgot what I was going to say. Hold on, I was ramping it up as far as being.
You were talking about the class getting mad about that.
Well, it helps you take responsibility, and I think looking at it from that perspective, if you take responsibility for it, wouldn't that be empowering to go that there's a reason for this, as opposed to there's some evil force over me that's making me not, achieve what I want, has nothing to do with me. But here's what I was going to say. So for me, what I go to for the plus for me, 20 years ago I wanted to, be filling 3,000 seat theaters. 20 years ago I was doing it 13 years. I've been doing it a long time. But I think the good thing that's happened to me is in the meantime, I became a different comedian. I really do believe if 20 years ago I would have had the type of success that I wanted, I wouldn't have grown to be the comedian I am. So in the meantime, I've become, I think, a better comedian, more proud of what I do. So that is the good side of it, too. But I affectionately always say, but now I'm ready.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready.
I would love to see you play clubs like that. And I would absolutely go and see you at clubs like that, too. I mean, because you have your special is on Hulu right now.
Yeah, my special was on Netflix, and then it just after a certain period it just went to Hulu. So I guess some people don't have Netflix. So
I have both, because I've seen it on both.
Yeah.
I've watched it on both. So I've watched it a couple times. You mentioned the tour bus thing, and it got me to thinking too. Like, I can only imagine sometimes how much fun it would be just. You guys, like 3 or 4 of you sitting on a tour bus, making each other laugh, or sitting at a booth at a diner, just making each other laugh. I can't even imagine how much fun that could be.
You know what? It is everything. I don't have to have a tragedy happen in my life to go, oh, I never really appreciated that. I do.
Yeah.
I appreciate that comedians get to act like, I don't know what grade to say, but I would say like, I always say high school. You get to act like you're in high school for the rest of your life. That sort of just silliness and, and when you see high school kids hanging out, they're doing bits. They might not call them bits, but everyone's got this frenetic energy. And comedians are a lot of fun to hang out with. And whether we're sitting in a restaurant late at night or on the tour bus, it's everything you think it would be. And by the way, it's not all you would think. What I really like about stand-up comedians is that they offer everything. Like, they offer the silliness, but they also I think, offer a tremendous amount of depth and honesty and soul-bearing. So it's not like this vamped surface like friendship. It's everything. You can have a great serious conversation. You can have a great social conversation. But the majority of the time, it's just doing bits. It's just doing bits. It's one bit after another bit after another bit. Like 3 nights ago, I was sitting in a diner and James Adomian was doing this impersonation of a waiter that I won't get into what it was, and he did it over and over and over, and we were literally sitting there like banging the table. And the way it works with comedians, then someone else goes, "Let me do it," and then you get up and you play the waiter that we were imitating, and then the other person gets up and plays the waiter that they. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know one of the things I had mentioned earlier about how I had given it a shot. I think one of the things that led me to try it was almost a situation that was similar to that. A group of us in college had gone out, and we were always going to this one diner and everything like that. And I was always the one guy at the table that had everybody laughing. And it was no written material. It was no bits. I was basically just feeding off of everybody at the table. I was going what everybody was giving me, even if they meant to give it to me or not. To the point where I had people at booths, behind us and in front of us, laughing. We had waitresses laughing. And it was one couple that was sitting in a booth next to us that turned around and said, "You should really give that a shot." I just found the writing of actually putting the bits together to perform the hardest part. Like, I don't know if you find it, if that's the same thing. I don't know if it's the performance that's the hardest part for you. I don't know I'm sure at this point in your career, you're used to the performance. So the performance is second nature to you. Do you find the writing of material difficult, to be the difficult part of stand-up?
I have noticed that the more you talk about what really is passionate to you, the more the writing just will never stop.
Yeah.
And, you know, even, not that I talk about my sexuality a lot on stage, but obviously after, you know, busting out of the shed, as I like to call it, instead of coming out of the closet. And again, it's not like my act has turned into talking about that. Not that I think there's anything wrong with that, but it's, you know, there's, you know, it just isn't something that I talk about right now. Yeah. And it's not something I even want to talk about right now, and I'm suppressing it. It's just not what comes to me when I'm writing material. Yeah. It might, so I'm not putting it off, you know, I'm not saying it will never happen. But even, so you might think, well, then how did it free you up if you're not talking about your relationships? It freed me up in talking about other things that I would perceive to be not manly before. So I would just not talk about it, you know. Yeah. So it has freed me up a lot on stage to be more tap into what really, you know what I obsess on sometimes, you know. So the more you talk about that type of stuff, the more I think the material sort of you'll never run out of things to talk about.
Yeah. You mentioned going to clubs and things like that and going to perform. Do you ever go to a show just to watch? Like you see a comedian that's coming to town and just be like, hey, you know, I haven't seen this guy before. I haven't seen him in a while.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was just talking with, you know, one of the on my podcast, one of the guys that does the sort of the soundboard. He's a young comedian. His name is Jake Adams. And he goes to see, like, he'll go, I'm going to see Bill Burr one night. And I'm like, I want to go see Bill Burr. I want to go see Bill Burr not doing 10 minutes, because that I do. I'll see him, like, at 10 minutes at Largo or, like, jumping around. But I do want to do that. And that's why, like, I feel like in New York, you could go see those guys at Caroline's. You know, somebody that you want to go see, or like Brian Regan or somebody like that, to go just see them do it. Paul F. Tompkins, Patton Oswalt. So I do want to do that, but I don't do it that often. But it is something that I want to do. And you know, some people say, oh, I don't like going to see comedy anymore. Well, maybe you're not seeing the right comedy. Because it is fun to go watch someone and just be an audience member. I don't want to do it all the time. And it has to be someone really fucking funny. Otherwise, I'm going to drift off and wish it was me up there. Yeah. I'm going to drift off to other places. But if it's someone that you're a big fan of... matter of fact, I did go to see Brian Regan about a year and a half ago. I was opening up for Jim Gaffigan, and we went into San Francisco a night early. And we all went to see Brian Regan. And holy shit. I mean, it was so much fun. Yeah. And it also... This is not why I did it at all. But it reminded me of what people go through when they go to see a show. Mm-hmm. You know, and we didn't have to obviously even wait in line or anything like that. So that, but still, we still went out to dinner. We still, you know, we're at the hotel. We got ready. Mm-hmm. We went out to dinner. Take a cab to the comedy club. You know, went inside. Like, you realize it's an event. Yeah. And it makes you respect it a little more. I already have a tremendous amount of respect, but it will never hurt for it to keep growing. Yeah, people are paying babysitters. They're paying to park. They're coming inside. They're buying drinks. They're doing all that stuff. Remember to value that. It's not just a Thursday night.
Yeah. And it's a night out for some people.
It is.
Some people, it might be the only night out they have, you know, in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. If somebody's really trying their hardest and they're not having a good set, that I can enjoy watching. You know what I mean? Because if they're really trying, but for whatever the reason, and that's not going to happen at a big theater because they're all coming to see them. That'll mostly happen, like, you know, you picture New York, there's 20 comedians going up and one isn't not going over for that crowd. That audience isn't even there to see them maybe or whatever. If they're really trying and they're bombing, yeah, I can enjoy that. But I don't think there's anything cute about thinking it's cool to bomb. You know, if you're trying, and fuck the crowd if they don't like you. As long as you're up there doing what you think's funny, if they're not liking you, fuck it. Right. But that's the end of my sentence.
I know L.A. is big for comedy. New York is big for comedy. I've heard Chicago. I could be wrong about that.
It's amazing. I don't know how certain cities... I know Philadelphia right now has a really cool scene. You know, probably Helium has helped that. Mm-hmm. Atlanta, I mean, it's crazy. Atlanta, I think Kurt, I'm going to say his last name wrong, so I'm just not even going to try to say it. He tweeted, I retweeted it because I felt the same thing. He goes, I'm in Atlanta at an open mic night scene, and if this is their open mic night, something like Watch Out, the rest of the... And I thought the same thing. I'm like, what? This is amazing. Minneapolis. And so it doesn't have to be the city you would think it would be. It doesn't have to be a metropolitan, you would think. Certain cities, I don't know how it happens, but it cultivates this amazing new scene. Yeah. So what was your original question?
Oh, it's just what other cities would you say are pretty large for
comedy
is?
Yeah, like Atlanta, Minneapolis, Philadelphia right now. There's probably some cities I'm forgetting. But, Bloomington, Indiana.
Really? I wouldn't expect that.
Well, it might not be as big as Atlanta, but there's a lot of great comedians, and the scene is really cool. And I bring my own act pretty much everywhere I go, unless it's one of those scenes where the club owner I deem has a good taste in comedy and will put someone ahead of me, like we were talking about, a club that where the opening acts you don't feel match the headliner. We don't have to say who. Yeah. Unless it's one of those clubs, I bring my own act. And at the Comedy Addict, the owner, Jared, he uses local acts, and I'm happy because I like working with new people. If I think so, same thing with the Acme or Atlanta. I don't bring somebody because there's so many great comedians in that scene, and then you get to work with new people, and that's fun. That's like new friends. Yeah. New friends. That's another thing about comedy. I never really thought about this. Making new friends. Like I have my old friends that I've had. From high school. I still have 4 of my same friends that we still talk. So I have my old friends, but there's nothing like making new friends. It's fucking fun. Yeah. You make new friends like that. You go out at night and you're excited and you're all hanging out with each other. So, that's another great thing about comedy.
You don't have to mention any names, just because I don't think it would be right to anyway. But are there any acts out there that you see their success and you seriously wonder after seeing their acts how they're that successful? Or do you think everybody's pretty well deserving of where they're at right now?
Well, there's definitely the comedy. Whenever I'm complaining about comedy around new people, like you're on the road, I always take the time to say this up front. I actually literally have a disclosure. Let me say this before we do this. I love to complain about bad comedy. It's never a 2-year comic. It's never a 3-year comic, ever. Because you don't know what they're going to turn into. I don't even care if it's a 2-year comic that is extremely derivative of a famous comedian. Sometimes you go back 3 years later and you go, fuck, look, they really came into their own. So it's always someone that's not going to change. Yeah. But it's just to do that. They're not preventing me from being where I'm at. So my anger does not come from that. And I genuinely believe that. I don't tell myself that. I believe it, and I know it's a fucking fact. Mm-hmm. Their success has nothing to do with my success or my what I mean? Where I'm at in my career. Yeah. So with that put aside, because I see sometimes it creeps into that. Like, because... No. Everything, you might not like their act, and we'll talk about it, but they deserve everything they get. Everything they get, they deserve. Mm-hmm. So, but the acts that get me very angry, I was talking to my brother as a teacher and also my good friend Andrew as a teacher, and my brother was saying something. It's not the teachers that teach differently than him that get him angry. Have a completely different way of teaching. You would think, well, why wouldn't that get you angry? Yeah. No. I might disagree with it, but it's the teachers that don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. It's not that they teach differently. They don't give a fuck. Now, you might say, who's to decide? It's pretty apparent. Yeah. A teacher might have a completely different way. They might think this is a good idea, but they care. But God damn it, you disagree with everything that they do. That's not the ones that get them angry. And that's how I feel about comedy. The comedians that, genuinely, it's just not my thing. I'm not just saying it because I hate it. And I do think it's the worst thing in the world, and I'm trying to be polite. No, that's not what I'm doing. It's genuinely not my cup of tea. It doesn't get me angry. It's just like, it's not my cup of tea. Yeah. But it's the comedians that just don't give a shit. It's all tricks, and it's all manipulation, and it's all bullshit. And then I think to myself, is that good for me? Because I can get really angry about bad comedy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can get it's a little bit comedic. I'm like, you fuck. It's real too. But I also love comedy that much And you could say to yourself, well, why can't you just have the love part? I don't think you can love it as much as I love when I see great comedy, when I see a new comedian that's funny, and I'll wait a whole open mic night till the end to go up and be like, God damn it, you're funny. I don't think you can love comedy as much as I love it unless you despise the shit as much as I despise the shit. I think it's hand in hand. You can't just go, well, get rid of that anger towards the bad comedy and just put all your energy into that. Then it doesn't work that way. Yeah. So there might be comedians that don't get as angry as bad comedy as me, but they also don't love the good comedy as much as me. So, but no, I never think, how did they get that famous? It's a big world out there, and a lot of people like it, like things that I don't like. So I totally get it. But, you can have both. I do want to be respected by my peers, but you can also have a tremendous amount of success and be respected by your peers. And I can't imagine not having the respect of my peers. I don't know if I have the respect of all my peers, but I'd like to believe that I have the respect of a decent amount of my peers. And I hope that doesn't sound cocky, but the reason I hope it is because I work hard to earn their respect, and I'm still trying to work hard. I still have shit in my act that I get rid of, and go, I don't like that. Or, a friend of mine, Jimmy Dore, said something a long time ago to a newer comedian, like when you're going through your act, how to, trim the fat, even if you need it, keep it. You need it, you're doing a college show, you need 25, 30 minutes, keep it. But when it's time to start trimming the fat, say this to yourself. Think of one of your jokes and go, not would every single comedian on the planet repeat your joke. That would never happen. But would one comedian that you respect hear your joke and repeat it? Would one comedian go, oh, I worked with the guy last week? Because we do that all the time. I'm hanging out with my comedian friends, whether I'm hanging out with like whoever, Jane Kirkman or it could be Sarah Silverman or Paul F. Tompkins, all those names I've been mentioning throughout the show. And we'll be like, oh, I worked with this new guy, probably like been doing it like 2 years, and we'll repeat jokes. So if the answer is, by the way, the answer comes to you right away. You think of your joke, and then you think, would any comedian anywhere be repeating this? And your shoulders are falling, you'll be like, no. And then you get rid of it. But if you need it for now, keep it for now. But when it's time to start trimming it, that's how you think about it.
Yeah. I know there's one joke that you did. I mean, your whole stand-up special, the one that's on Hulu and Netflix, had me laughing the entire time. But there's one, and it's actually mentioned in your book. There's one joke that's in there that just I've told the people at work just because I just found it hysterical, and it was the one about the towels at the hotel. Just when you called the front desk and asked them, with the towel on the.
There's a towel hanging up at the hotel. There's a sign. A towel hanging up means I'll use it again, but a towel on the floor means I want a new one. So I called down to the front desk. I said, what's a washcloth on my night table mean with a little lotion next to it? But so, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to hear that's, that would be a joke that would be repeatable. Yeah. I also watch that special now. I guess it's a good thing, and I really think, I could do better than that. When I watch that special now, it seemed like maybe because I was a little nervous. I wasn't nervous the whole show, but I was a little nervous. Mm-hmm. That my voice quality was not the same. It was like I was delivering it a little too hard, like talking like I don't talk in regular life. And but I still I'm okay with it. I mean, but I wish I could redo it.
How long ago was that recorded?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
I know we're getting close. Yeah, we're over an hour already. So I know we gotta get
good.
Close to wrapping up at some point. But one of the things I thought about, too, when I was reading the book, and I heard you on other podcasts and such, there's two things. I know there's at least one thing in the book right now, and there's one thing on the podcast that I heard. There's one event in the book that you talk about how you did a corporate gig. I think it was IBM. Or did you just mention IBM as an example? Or
if I mentioned anything, you're right, because I don't remember what corporation it was. So if in the book we mentioned somebody, it was purely just to make it up for story reasons. But the story is absolutely true. It's just I forget the company.
Yeah, and it was just how people like I think it was your friend Katie at the time, and you were. When you were standing up at the bar, people who, I'll send people to read the book so that they can get the full story, but about standing at the bar and being screaming out that she was pregnant. And
a lot of times, to explain to your audience, when you do a corporate show. For a while, they were hiring you to do comedy, but also they wanted to deliver it in a different way to the audience. They wanted to like not have you, hey, we have a comedian here tonight. It would be like, and the money for those corporate things is amazing. That's what keeps you doing it. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. They give me a stomach ache. They ruin my month because if I'm doing it in 30 days, I start thinking about it. But the money's pretty good, so you do it. And this one here, they wanted me to come in. They were bringing in, oh, it's so fuzzy now, but a president that was not the vice president moving up. That's what was really going on. I'm pretty sure that's what was going on. So they were bringing me in as that guy. So there was a little contention going on in the company. So they wanted to seat me at a table with everyone that was in on the joke. And I brought Katie, a friend of mine. And they wanted us to bring us there because everything would be all right until we roamed away to the bar to get some drinks because I was so nervous. And then this sounds like a Three's Company episode. It was so over the top, but I swear to you it's true. And we started whispering, like, I'm nervous. And I think, did you say anything? No, don't talk to anybody. Just go back. I don't want people to, we were so nervous. They'd go, and how long have you, or whatever. Yeah. So, Katie was whispering, and then somebody goes, and by the way, I looked like I was 40 then, and I was probably 25. Katie looked like she was 15. She looked very young. She probably looked like she was, 18 or whatever, And someone goes, what are you guys talking about? Just friendly. And Katie goes, I'm pregnant. I'm like, oh my God, Katie, why did you do that? Now they're thinking this guy's coming in, he's the president, and now he's got some young girl pregnant.
Well, I think it was also you guys had just got done doing shots at the bar too, wasn't it?
Oh, I forgot about that. That now they're like, oh, and she's pregnant, she's doing shots. I forgot about that. Right, exactly. Probably the most important part of the story, and I forgot it. And I thought, let me interrupt here and tell the story. I'll get it perfect. And then meanwhile, I fuck it up. I'm so sorry. To anybody listening to this interview, if you're like, man, it was interesting, but that coughing got to me after a while, I totally apologize. I have malaria.
But yeah, you had, and then you had gone up on stage after some women had overheard that conversation at the bar, and you just sold them on it by getting everybody to sing the Brady Bunch theme.
Yeah, I don't know why. I was like, hey, I know a lot of people don't like me, and then I got everybody singing the Brady Bunch, and then they admitted who I was, that I was the comedian. I was like, oh, I haven't done those things in a while. You never get out of doing them, It's like, unless I hope to one day have enough money put away that I can say no to corporate shows, but for now.
But there's events like that, and then you told another story on a podcast about how you did a book signing for the book, and you wanted to get everybody to boo.
Oh yeah.
When new people came in during the book signing, and there's things like that just the description in the book. I guess it's thanks to the ghostwriter and to where you working with it, ghostwriter, not ghostwriter, and you working with him that just make the story so descriptive, and the way you told the story about the boos during the book signing and everything, that I can picture them perfectly. And I would think, is there ever been any interest in maybe turning the book into a movie or
not a movie, but the book, the first title for the book was called I wanted to call it, and I still really wish we would have. I wanted to call the book All I Ever Wanted to Do Was Meet a Nice Girl with a Terminal Disease. And I think the subtitle would have explained it to most people, and other stupid things that I said to keep the closet door shut. And for the people that were still not wondering, why would he want to meet a girl with a terminal disease? Well, then she would die, and then you could tell everybody the rest of your life, I never got over Karen. Like that, you're 70 years old. I never got over Karen. And they were afraid that it would be offensive to people, or I don't know, or confusing to people. And I still say, as much as you might think, well, if you think they're right, then why do you still want to call it that? Because I still love that name. Yeah. But instead we went with the Todd Glass situation because that is in the book too. When my friend, a friend of mine, Daniel, would ask me like, hey, does Chris's family know about you guys? Or do his friends coming in from Florida know about you guys? Know we're together. And I would be like, no, they don't know about our situation. And he goes, oh, is that what you're in, a situation? And it really made me laugh the night he said, oh, that's quite of a situation you got yourself into. He goes, I think that's more than a situation. So, yeah, we were working with Comedy Central about a show for a little bit. And then we we give one script, they gave notes. We gave another script, they gave notes. We gave another script, they gave notes. They wanted it to be more about the plate spinning, which is a major part of the story. When you're hiding it, it's a lot of plate spinning. I don't think people realize it. When you hear, oh, they're hiding it or they're in the closet, you just hear that term and you don't know what it means. There's a million different variations of that. Your parents know, his parents don't know. Your friends know, which friends know. Who don't, don't invite them for dinner because they know or they don't know, and I don't want, there's a million.
Yeah.
But I didn't want it to be the A-plot of every show, and I think they wanted it to be. They wanted it to be the A-plot of every show, and I didn't. It wasn't the A-plot of every day of my life. Was it some days the A-plot of my day? You know what I mean? If I'm referencing my life as the A or B plot of and a C plot of a sitcom. Yes, it was sometimes the A plot, but rarely. Sometimes it literally was a minute of my day. A minute. The day went on, nothing had anything to do with it, and then something would come up that had to do with that part of my life hiding it. And that's how I wanted the show to reflect it. Yeah. So we, on the last, they gave more notes, and my manager said, if you don't give them what they want, they're probably going to, walk, whatever you call it. They would, we're not going any further with it. So they bought, and they did. And then we turned in the final thing and they said, we're going to pass. That's what I mean. They're going to pass. Okay. So now we're looking for another home for it. Because there's been a lot of shows about people that are out of the closet, which again, I hate that term. It's not, no one else should stop saying it. It's a fine term. I just hate it for me. But it's not like I'm saying no one should say it. It's fine. And when you say it, everyone knows exactly what you mean. Yeah. It means you're hiding your identity. I get it. But that's why I say busting out of the shed, because it's a little more manly.
Or coming out of the garage, as you used on, I think you used that on Chris's.
Yeah, coming out of the garage, whatever. Something that's got a little tougher, bite to it.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of shows about people that have been out of the shed, but there has never been a show really about someone hiding still, being in the closet still. And I thought it would be interesting. I really do. I think it would be funny, and I think it would also shed a lot of light on it. But I also wanted it to have nothing to do with it. Sometimes I wanted it to just have nothing to do with it. I wanted the show to be able to be funny all by itself, and that was just another layer of it. So the answer to your question is yes, and the show would be called The Todd Glass Situation, and I'm hoping we find a home for it because I think it could be a good show.
Is it something that you would want to play yourself?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And my manager asked me, what if you sold the show to, whoever, and they said, listen, we like the show, but we want to buy the concept and you'd stay on as an executive producer. I said when it came to that, I would probably say okay, but I'd really rather play that part myself.
I think if anything, that would be another step in your career that could help you get to that big arena.
Well, of course, a show on television would absolutely help. But the stand-up comedy is what I like to do more than anything. Yeah. If I could just tour, if I could be like a Brian Regan, a guy like that is pretty much just known for being a great stand-up comedian. I thought I turned my phone off. That's what I would love more than anything. Like I even said once, hypothetically, like let's say Jimmy Kimmel let me come out on a show 3 times a week, 3 times a week, and walk out and go, can I be on your show? He goes, no. And that's all I did 3 times a week. Or I came out towards the end. Ladies and gentlemen, Todd Glass. He sort of does that with Matt Damon. So I'm just using this as... But let's say it was something like that where 3 times a week, literally, or twice a month, just a shit ton, where they introduce me. I come out, I sit at panel, they go, oh, sorry, we're out of time. I never say anything. But that's how an audience knew me. I'd be fine with that. Yeah. I'd be fine. Like, oh, that's the guy that comes out on the Kimmel every single night or something, and they never use him, or any bit like that. That's just if it was on Jimmy Fallon or any show like that, that's all I did, and that's only people didn't even know what to expect when they came out to see me. But that's how they knew me. I'd be fine with that too.
Do talk shows contact you to do that, or can you pitch that to talk shows to do something like that?
Well, I pitched sort of bits to Kimmel to that show a lot, but yeah, you have to either know somebody there. Usually, you know somebody that works on the show, but. I think to do something like that, you'd have to sort of have a relationship with them before you pitched it.
There's definitely other networks out there.
I feel
FX and things like that.
There's a lot.
There's definitely a lot of other places that you could pitch that show. So, I wish you the best of luck because I would love to see it too.
Thank you. And if it's not that, it'll be something else. The only other idea. I'm very big into social issues, and I would love to do what sort of Jon Stewart and Bill Maher have done for politics, for social issues. Because, you think, well, if you tried to explain how Jon Stewart or Bill Maher could deal with all that stuff but make it funny, someone would think, oh, are they going to mock that type of... No, they would just... They would just... You could now we see those shows, so we understand. And that's the same thing with social issues. I would love... Because if you think about it, what is Jon Stewart? They took some very traditional shows that were boring, talking about politics, and now they're interesting to watch. I would love to do that for social issues, and I think it would be a great show. And that's I don't know which one I would want to do more if I had a magic wand, if I could wave it and have almost like a. I can't even think maybe what Oprah, that type of a show, or Phil Donahue in his day, but I'm a comedian doing it.
Yeah.
But driven by passion. Well,
that's kind of like the sort of, I know one of the things that I would love to do one day, because I'm a big pop culture junkie, so I would love to do, even if whether it's in podcast form or, with any stroke of luck sometime down the road on a television show or whatever, just do a round table and just different people joining in talking about whatever new in pop culture that week. I mean, there's talk shows that do it all the time. Joel McHale does it with The Soup, and that's more parody and making fun of things and stuff like that. And even Jon Stewart, as you mentioned, and Stephen Colbert, they'll touch base on it, and Jimmy Fallon and all those guys. But it would basically just be pretty much just that. So I mean, there's always different ideas.
Yeah, there's so many avenues and there's so many venues today that I think this will be a good year for me, and I think the book will lead me to a lot of paths.
Yeah, the book is still fresh. I mean, it just came out in June, so it's.
The book came out June or July 3rd.
June 3rd.
June 3rd. You're right.
Because I know you were on Preston and Steve, which is a station here in Philadelphia, and you had mentioned the book.
Right.
I had pre-ordered it that day, so.
I'm looking at my calendar as we talk. Yeah, you're right. We did it on June 3rd.
So I've been reading a little bit of it every day. I'm loving the book, and I've been telling a lot of people about it too.
Thank you.
So, I know a lot of people. I'm big into social media too, and I know I've posted on Facebook. I know when I first started reading the book, I posted on Facebook that I was reading it and how funny it was. I have quite a few of my friends comment on it who knew who you were and said they were going to add it to their reading material and things like that. So I'm spreading the word too, just because I like to do that.
I appreciate it. Take all the help I can get.
I know we're about an hour and 15 in, so we should probably get started wrapping things up. But I just want to some information, just so I can point people your way and get you, get you bigger and things like that. Your website's toddglass.com. They can follow you on Twitter at Todd Glass. And your podcast is through the Nerdist Network on Facebook.com/Todd Glass Show, and it's on iTunes as well.
Yes, the Todd Glass Show.
Which I've heard a couple episodes too. I went back and I listened to like I said, the one with Paul F. Tompkins and Ron Funches, and I'm going to listen to more. Just my iPod took a dump the other day, so I got to get a new iPod. So I start listening to.
You don't have an iPhone?
No, I have I'm Android.
Oh, but they don't have a podcast app?
I can, if I download it to my iTunes library, I can access my iTunes library through it. But I just have to set it up for the podcasts. Because I think I'm actually probably going to get rid of now that my iPod took a dump, I think I'm going to just go through my phone. Because all my music that I have to load onto my iPod, I can access right from my computer.
Oh, yeah.
So it's so much easier just to do it this way. And so... but you're going to be out at the Comedy Cabaret tomorrow night in Doylestown.
This drops. When's this drop?
I'm hoping to have it up tonight.
Oh, so, you are? Yeah. Well, we're sold out, so...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
you're always back.
I'm coming back for Thanksgiving. I'm going to be at the Helium Thanksgiving week. So the Wednesday, take off for Thanksgiving, and then do Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
With the local, not local anymore, but originally a Conestoga graduate, the same high school I went to, will be me and Blake Wexler.
Awesome. Yeah, I haven't been to Helium in a while, but now I have another reason to come out, too.
It's going to be fun. So. It's a big event when I'm there. Band and everything. Trumpets are blazing.
So I'm looking forward to it. But Todd, thanks for doing this, man.
Thank
this
you.
Was great. Had a good time.
I appreciate it, and it was very enjoyable.
So
you got to see my brother's house.
I did,
and my sister-in-law.
It's a beautiful house too.
Well, they've done a nice job here.
I appreciate you letting me come in and do this. So, just to wrap things up, be sure to everybody listening, check us out, nextlevelradioonline.com. Follow us on Twitter at NXT Level Radio, and we'll see you for the next Spotlight. Thanks.